The G20 Foreign Ministers Summit is concluded with a chair summary and not a joint communique. The foreign ministers failed to come up with a joint communique because of sharp polarization among the members on the Russia-Ukraine war. And India instead issued a chair summary and an outcome document, which was agreed upon by all members, except for two contentious paragraphs relating to the Ukraine war. However, it's important to note that this is the first time that the foreign ministers have produced an outcome document which reflects consensus on a vast number of global issues.
We can see that the West is continuing with other ways under new conditions. They are still promoting their interests without considering the interests of the vast majority of other stakeholders of the global community.
Concerned the Ukraine conflict, on which there were divergences. So on the bulk of the issues, we were able to get an outcome document.
So the meeting came in the backdrop of fractured East-West ties because of the Ukraine war, and despite India's best attempts at bridging these gaps, there was no joint communique. However, consensus was achieved on over 90% of the issues, as was said by the External Affairs Minister. So the G20 summit's chair released a summary and an outcome document. The paragraph which mentioned the complete withdrawal of Russian forces from the territory of Ukraine, that was objected to by Russia and China. The member states without Russia and China agreed on the need to counter the impact of war on the global economy. Further, there was also objection to another point on the peaceful resolution of the conflict. The chair summary noted the use or threat to the use of nuclear weapons is inadmissible. This paragraph did not receive consensus, but apart from the Ukraine war, security and economic implications aside, all other major decisions were agreed on by all the participating foreign ministers, including tackling climate change and biodiversity, strengthening the key aspects of global health, condemning terrorism and the misuse of technology. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held back-to-back bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the G20. First, he held bilateral talks with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, focusing on bilateral ties and pressing global issues, including the Ukraine conflict. There was no immediate readout from either side, but later Jaishankar said in a tweet that the meeting was an opportunity to review bilateral ties and discuss global issues. Soon after that meeting with Blinken, Jaishankar then went into a meeting with Qin Gang, who is the Chinese foreign minister, the new one. Qin Gang is a close aide of President Xi Jinping. He's on his first visit to India since replacing Wang Yi as the foreign minister after last year's party congress. After the bilateral, Jaishankar said that there are issues that need to be looked at and discussed very openly and candidly between both countries. And of course, there was Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who held his talks with his Indian counterpart. This was, of course, a day before the G20 foreign ministers meeting. Jaishankar on Wednesday held wide-ranging talks with his Russian counterpart, focused on the Ukraine conflict, bilateral ties, and issues relating to the foreign ministers' meeting. But a rare encounter grabbed the headlines today. The top diplomat from the United States and Russia, they spoke face-to-face for the first time since Moscow's invasion of Ukraine for about 10 minutes when Antony Blinken stressed Washington's support for a peaceful resolution to the Ukraine war and maintained the country's territorial integrity. This, according to American media reports, and the Russian Foreign Ministry said the encounter took place at Blinken's request. Now that the foreign ministers' meeting is over, the foreign ministers of the quadrilateral, that is the Quad, they will be holding a meeting tomorrow. The meeting was uncertain until the Japanese foreign minister, Mr. Hayashi, announced that he will be traveling to India despite the ongoing session of the Japanese parliament. So while on the one hand there was no joint communique, but more than 90% of other outstanding issues have been agreed upon, as was signaled in that outcome document and the chair summary. But that's a wrap. Thanks very much for tuning in. Good night.
In the national capital, so we'll go across there because Mario